Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you for clicking on this video. This is I Says Kills, otherwise known as Nick. And this is my third take because I've been having technical difficulties, to say the least. So hopefully it goes well. This is going to be my review of Werewolf by Night. This just came out on Friday in the spirit of Halloween. I've been vaguely excited about this solely because I love horror. I've always been ask my brother. I always loved werewolves and vampires and zombie movies and monster movies, etc. So I've always been excited to see what, when I say excited, before the whole woke stuff happened, I was always excited to hear or actually see live action version of these monster characters because MCU has their own monster characters. They have their own Frankenstein, their own vampires, Dracula, um, Wolfman, which is their Werewolf by Night. So I've been very much anticipating his entry into the MCU. Interesting that they chose to do it in a short movie. This is actually only 55 minutes. So it's very short. It's like a very long, well, not very long. It's like a regular episode, I guess. One episode. It is filmed like a movie, however, and it does bring back, the horror, like black and white, and pays homage to the old horror movies. And I did like some things about it, but the things that are negative about it kind of outweigh the positives, in my opinion. And the storyline is very weak. Why the characters are there seems very idiotic. So we'll talk about it. This is going to be a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen it, just want to give you a forewarning. The movie, starts off with the black and white, and it kind of changes black and white in between when it first starts. And they change the intro. You get a little lightning, you get some screams, you get the werewolf, scratches in the middle of the Marvel sign, and a little bit before that when they show the original Marvel characters. So I did enjoy what they did with that. They give you a little bit of background on the Bloodstone and the history of the Bloodstone, which kind of plays out in this little mini animation. And this is what the Bloodstone looks like. It's basically was like a weapon, and gives power to the user, and can use give that person special abilities. We start off in right here. It kind of reminds me of the LA convention, not the LA convention, but the observatory in LA. This reminds me of. I wonder if that's what it is way back then, because I'm guessing this is sometime. I don't think they ever say, but it seems like it's in the early 1900s. They enter in this mansion slash observatory, and you get introduced to our main character, which is not. It's not very flattering picture of him, but he does do a good job. This character is played by Gail Garcia Bernal, and I like what he did with the character. He just didn't really have a good story on script to present on screen. His dialogue was okay. You get to know a little bit about his motivations and what he's going through. He has, his condition pretty much locked down. He knows how to control it. He basically locks himself up during the full moon and has, semi control of it, basically. He's living a somewhat normal life, and he's come to this party slash, secret society meeting. And they're all gathering up because they have like a competition. And this competition is hunting down a monster called Ted, which we'll talk about later. But whoever wins and kills Ted, which Ted is very powerful, by the way, so I don't know how any of these characters was going to kill Ted, but he's a very powerful and kind of funny character. I kind of like him. He's probably the best character in the show. So we get introduced to a bunch of characters, this guy, remember this guy for later. He's very huge, big. I don't know. I'll tell you about it later. We also get introduced to the female protagonist, whose name is Laura Dunnelly, who plays Elsa Bloodstone, who is a relative of one of the previous owners. And some of the contestants kind of put up an argument about her joining this hunt, but I don't know if it was a relative of her, but her name is Verusa, and she says pretty much that it's okay that she can join in on the hunt, and she does. She's trying to gain power or, I guess possession of the stone, so she definitely wants to get involved here. Now, one character that seemed very odd to me was the person in the box. Now, this person, I guess, is a relative of the lady who's sitting down, Elsa Bloodstone. I guess he's one of the owners of the Bloodstone, and he has, I guess, an unnatural life. I really wish they did this scene different, because whatever they used to do this character, it was like a robot. It wasn't real at all. It didn't seem like one of the animatronics you see at Disneyland. So I don't know why they went that route with this character, because everyone seemed like it was real. Like, like he was a real person. So I don't know if she was pretending and he's actually just a robot, kind of thing that they introduce before the games, or if he's actually a person. I don't know. But he talks. He says his honor, meet everyone, and that whoever wins is going to be bestowed the power of the Bloodstone. So it's a very interesting way to present a character, I guess, with unnaturally long life, if that's what they were trying for. Or it could just be a robot. I don't know. It definitely looks like a robot. We get introduced to the Bloodstone. I did kind of like this, though. Like how they did the red within the black and white. So I did kind of enjoy this. In the introduction of seeing the Bloodstone. They come, they do this little ceremony, getting prepared for the hunt, and they pick the first person that goes out, and it happens to be our main character, Gail Garcia Bernthal. And again, like, he's there, not really for the Bloodstone. He's there to save Ted. Funny name for a monster, but we get a little introduction with him and Ted later on. He runs, the side character, he runs into this guy after running into the girl, and he lets the girl go, or he tries to let them pass. Like, he doesn't want to harm anybody. He says he doesn't want to harm any of these guys either. He's just trying to get his friend out. The reason why I bring that up is right when he meets up with her, he lets her go, so try to walk by. She pushes him out of the way, our main protagonist, and she gets into a fight with, I want to play the fight. Well, I guess I already passed it. Anyways, there's a scene in here where that big guy, right here, this guy right here, this is the scene. This guy right here, the big Russian guy, right, slams this girl into this brick wall. This one right here, this brick wall, slams this girl into this brick wall 3 times. Bam, bam, bam. Maybe even more, I don't know. And then throws her on the wall. Throws her on the ground. This is her falling on the ground after her head has been slammed into the stone. And even though her head has been slammed to the stone, she has no, bruises. I think she has a little bit of blood, that's it. But she gets up like normal. I don't understand how that could happen. I did enjoy stuff like that. Like, you see that little you call cigarette burns, I guess, in film, like I used to see it back in the day. But ultimately, she kills him. So that's one down, right? And then she takes care of the martial artist, which, he didn't really put up much of a fight. And then we get our main character who actually finds Ted, and kind of the monster, grabs a hold of his body and kind of gives him like a hug, which was kind of cute. And then our main character gets stuck with our female protagonist, Elsa, who basically get background story on each other. She finds out, that he doesn't want to hurt anybody, that he just wants to get his friend Ted out. So she finds out about that. She doesn't know that he's a werewolf yet. So they spend quite a bit of time in that crematorium. This is our monster Ted, by the way. I did enjoy this character. He has very little screen time. When Werewolf by Night actually did let him go, like actually freed him, our female protagonist, Elsa, grabs the bloodstone that's behind his back. And then he just, runs off. But he comes back later on, which I kind of liked. This guy dies as well, unfortunately. Wait a second, I think he dies. Right? Can't play too much of this. No. Let me see here. So they get trapped, both of them. And she finds out now that she is the werewolf. That he is the werewolf by night. Now, there's several problems I have with this up until this point. First of all, we already find out how strong Ted is, right? Because he kills one of the characters. And he just puts his hands on the character and they just implode, like blow up in flames. And just by a touch. So I don't understand how any of these characters, even if they had axes, they had like basic weapons, how were they supposed to kill Ted and take the bloodstone away from him? How does that make sense? Like, he's basically Hulk size. I'm pretty sure he has super strength. I don't know how strong he is, but definitely stronger than these humans, right? And if none of them were supposed to be monsters, because they find out later on that Jack Russell, because the stone rejected him, because he tried to pick up the stone, because the stone rejected him, they knew that he was some type of monster. And this is right after Ted left and that stone was on the ground, and then you saw the one character looking at it, in which we saw a little picture of it. And our main character, Jack, tries to grab it from the ground. The female, Elsa, sees him try to grab it, and then also Verussa sees it, and then basically Stone pushes him off, basically rejects him, says you can't hold me or whatever because you're a werewolf. So no monsters, I guess, can hold it. Now, the problem with that is the stone was on Ted's back. So can you just not hold it in your hand? Like, I don't understand how that worked. So there's some major problems, I understand that this is supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be easy, but none of these characters had any chance of killing Ted unless they had some type of, artifact that was magical that can put a lot of damage into him, which none of them really had. They didn't even know Jack was a werewolf and can probably compete in fighting Ted. But, that's a big problem that I had. Not to mention, Elsa just kicking everyone's ass. I mean, I don't think Jack fought anyone like when he was Jack. I mean, she basically kicked everyone's butt until he turned into a werewolf when he kind of took over. So this lady, who's all in makeup now, Verusa, brings in the Bloodstone, and she's trying to use the Bloodstone to turn Jack into werewolf by night. And he tells Elsa that he has 5 days left, and she's telling him that no, you don't. Like the stone will bring the monster out, and that she thanks him ahead of time for killing her fast. But he goes up to her and very awkwardly and starts sniffing the crap out of her. I guess to try to have the werewolf remember her scent or whatever. At least that part kind of fit along with what maybe could happen if you're a werewolf and you had no control over the werewolf part of you and you're trying to, sniff like how a dog would sniff a stranger to introduce himself. So at least that part kind of felt right. She uses a stone, and then he starts transitioning. Now, the thing about this is that he's in like a birdcage thing. Yeah, there's bars and stuff, but they don't know what type of monster he would turn into. Like, I don't even know what the motivation is or was to turn him into a monster to kill. Was it to kill Elsa? I didn't understand the motivation of why they wanted him within the cage with her if the whole game was basically canceled anyways because the winner couldn't take the stone, right? Because he couldn't, the stone rejected him. So I didn't quite understand the motivation to that. Maybe I missed it, but it just wasn't really plain. So, he breaks out of the little bird cage easily and he starts going to town. He starts wrecking everyone. He basically ignores Elsa, so his sniffing plan worked. And then Elsa, gains control of the stone because she picks it up on the ground. And she approaches Jack, says, "You're still in there." He jumps on her, though, right here. And I don't like the look, by the way. And I know I didn't talk about this yet, but I don't like the look of Werewolf by Night. They try to make him look like the old Wolfman. But like there's no elongated like nose or mouth. He had a very like human face with some makeup, obviously, a little bit maybe oversized in cheeks and maybe the nose a little bit. I mean the eyebrows, obviously too, but more or less he just had a human face, more like the old Wolfman movies. But I mean, even in this poster, you see, in the right by Darth Vader, right there. I mean, even that picture of the werewolf has a snout. So I don't really think I like the design of what they went with. I think they should have made him a little bit more like wolf-like, not so much wolf-man-like. But that's just, I guess, a personal preference of mine. So she, he sniffs her. She puts her hand on him and he doesn't harm her. So I guess even in his wolf form, he has at least some control, and to the point where he can remember the people that he cares about. So I guess I kind of like that part of it. We get Ted, who enters back in after the Wolfman or Werewolf by Night runs off. Our female protagonist tells Ted, like the direction that he ran off to, and he basically goes towards that direction. She dies horribly, by the way. He just touches her and he just melts. We get the butler. At least he survives. I guess he's going to be working for Elsa now. And we get Werewolf by Night as Jack again, and it's the next day, obviously, so the sun is out, no more full moon. You get Ted here, who's just basically watching over him. I guess he built this house while he was sleeping, or maybe this is a place where he's been the whole time. Well, they basically have a little, talk. I saved you, kind of thing, and then Ted says, "No, I saved you," and it's a funny, funny. And that's it. That's where the movie ends right there. So Elsa has the Bloodstone, and the butler is still with Elsa, and Werewolf by Night and Ted are hanging out on the bench. So that is what happens in the movie. I guess we could talk about some positives. Some positives I did enjoy when he actually became Werewolf by Night, and the slaughter that he bestowed all the security force, which I don't even know where the security force came from, to be honest. This kind of appeared out of thin air. I enjoyed Ted immensely. I loved him, and it's kind of funny because he didn't have any dialogue really, so he didn't really talk, but he was a very likable monster, so I didn't get a kick out of him. Jack, however, I think could have been a little bit more tougher, maybe. I think they probably should have added a fight scene with him and one of the other characters. Not made him so passive. I don't know, in my opinion. Elsa's character, I mean, the actress did fine. She just did a lot of things that weren't believable for a human. I mean, like the fight that she had with the character Javan, who was like 200 something pounds more than her. She got her head slammed full force by this character into stones, like a stone slab, and was uninjured. So little stuff like that, like the character who played Simon, which was like the martial artist, and the character that's named Daniel J. Watts. I mean, they could have not been there, and it wouldn't have made a difference. They just died too soon. Like, they should have spent a lot more time building up the side characters, so you can get a little bit more background of who they were. Because when they ultimately died, it was just like, okay, whatever. Just, I guess that's why you were here, you know. But they did seem like interesting characters that they just, kind of dropped the ball with, you know. So, there's a lot of things that about this short movie not to like. Since it's Halloween, though, if you have some extra time and you want to watch something that's semi entertaining to the point where, you just want to watch the wolf fight, I would fast forward all the way to the end and just watch the Werewolf by Night section, because the rest of it's pretty boring, to be honest. So, my overall opinion, I would give it maybe out of 10 for. Let's rate it by genre. I gave at the horror section, I would give it maybe a 2, because it's not scary at all. Not even a little bit. For comedy, maybe a 3. Overall, maybe drama, 2. I guess the movie as a whole, just because I enjoyed Ted and I did enjoy some parts of Jack, I might give it 4. Still below average. I mean, there's so much more they could have done with it. It's very unfortunate that they didn't, and that they went this campy, Marvel route with it. And when I say Marvel, I don't mean that as an insult. If they made it the old Marvel way, like, 2008 Iron Man days, or even up to Infinity War, any type of consistency within that time frame would have been perfect here as far as the story. So I just don't think we're going to see that anymore anytime soon. Like stories that's as compelling as Iron Man, or as compelling, as Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, or, and I know that's going way back, but I mean, Captain America Civil War, Winter Soldier. I mean, those are all just great films, like it just sucks to see what is being produced nowadays. And it's very, very unfortunate. But sooner or later, just like any big corporation, when they see that they're losing more money and more money and more money because of pushing certain messages, they're going to be forced to stop. So it's really just a waiting game. But at least it's semi-entertaining to talk about after watching something this. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is not as bad as She-Hulk, by the way. It's just very boring. The only entertaining parts when Werewolf by Night showed up. I mean, the female character was okay, but they just made her pretty much be the badass taking out all the men, and I mean, I don't mind that, I don't mind a female badass, right? Like a Ripley or a Sarah Connor, or, I mean, it's just, they don't do it naturally. They force it to the point where it's unbelievable. So, anyways, guys, that is my opinion on Werewolf by Night. My review is almost as long, well, half as long as the actual episode. So, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. If you guys did like it or like this video, please hit that like and subscribe button. We'll see what Marvel has. By the way, I'm not going to be watching the last episode of She-Hulk. I've thrown in the towel. I'm more than willing to check out, things as they come out, but it's just not looking good right now. But like I said, it's a waiting game, so we'll see. Anyways, guys, thank you for clicking on this video. I will catch you on the next one.